really beautiful song from Joni Mitchell telling the poignant story of how she came to give her baby daughter up for adoption. It's not a difficult song exactly, maybe some unfamiliar shapes, but that's due to the fact that we're in potentially an unfamiliar tuning. This is open G, and if you haven't played in open G much, well, it's a lot of fun, very versatile, very popular in certain styles. I've just done an introductory video into open G, so if you just want to start to get to grips with alternative tunings, open G is a good place to start, and you might want to take a look at that video. I've got a capo on the 4th fret too, which means that these strings are tuned as follows. You probably tune without the capo on, but with the capo on, the 6th string is tuned an octave below the 4th string, so they're both F sharp. Now it would be D without the capo, and the top string is tuned an octave above the 4th string, so that comes out as F sharp. That's also a D without the capo. So the bottom string and the top string are both tuned down a tone, the equivalent of 2 frets, to D. They're in octaves with the open 4th string, and the 5th string is a G, which with the capo on the 5th fret is a B, but that's in octaves with the open 3rd string. So to recap, the 2nd, 3rd and 4th strings are as they would be in standard tunings. The 5th and 6th strings and the top string are all tuned down a tone. So without the capo, D, G, D, G, B, D. And the upshot of all that nonsense is that if you play across the 6 open strings, you've got an open chord of G, hence the name of the tuning, open G. A couple of places in this song where we simply bar across the entire neck at a given fret. The 5th fret's going to give us a C, the 3rd fret will give us a B flat, for instance. That happens in this song. But what you won't get very much is the open 6th string. Joni doesn't play the open 6th. Right at the very end she happens to catch it on the final chord, but beyond that I don't think it even appears in the song. You may know Keith Richards famously plays a lot in open G, and he has the 6th string removed, so he doesn't have all the chaos that the 6th string might bring. Anyway, I'm going to go through the chords of the verse and the chorus. There are 2 sections, that's it. 2 verses and a chorus, a 3rd verse and a chorus to finish, and then we'll look at the picking. Now we have an intro of 4 bars, which is actually the same as the first 4 bars of the verse. So we'll come back and look at the intro in a moment. But the verse kicks off with this, G major 7, looks like a D7 in standard tuning, raised a couple of frets, G major 7 for a bar, and then we've got this, B minor 7, I'm calling that. I'm keeping my 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string and swinging the 2nd and 3rd fingers across to the 4th fret of the 4th and 5th strings. There's actually a G in that chord, but that's kind of the point of open G tuning. We have some happy little accidents where we get notes that don't strictly belong in the chord coming through, and that's all good. We've got a B minor 7, then we slide that down 2 frets after 2 beats, and then we got a couple of bars of a straight open G. So here they are. And that happens twice. The melody is obviously too high for me. I ain't no Joni, but I'll try and sing this. That's the open 2nd string, is where the tune starts. Born with the moon and Cancer. And again, choose her a name she'll answer to. I've got to go down for that bit. The final bar in the 2nd time through those 4 bars is a G7, and she puts her finger on the 3rd fret of the top string, adding an F to the chord. Because it's a D and the open 4th string is also a D, you could do that on the 4th string instead, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, or the top string, which is what she does. Choose her a name she'll answer to. Call her green. Go back to A minor 7 for 2 bars. And the winters can't fade her. Call her. And we bar across for 2 bars at the 5th fret for C. Green for the children who've made her. To B minor 7 again. Little green for a bar. A minor 7. be a gypsy dancer. And we end with 2 bars of G again. So the whole of the verse, slowly. Born with the moon in Cancer, choose her a name she'll answer to. Call her green, and the winters cannot fade her. Call her green for the children who've made her. Little green, be a gypsy dancer. Next verse. You went to California, hearing that everything's warmer there. So you write him a letter and say her eyes are blue. He sends you a poem and she's lost to you. Little green, he's a non-conformer. Just a little. And we're into the chorus that begins with a bar across the 5th fret. That's a C. So let's look at that now. Just a little green for a bar. Then we come down 2 frets to B flat, like the colour when the spring is born. 2 bars on that G. And then we've got a bar each of our B minor 7 and A minor 7. There'll be crocuses to bring to school tomorrow. 2 bars of G, and that repeats. Just a little green, like the nights when the northern lights perform. 2 bars of G. There'll be icicles and birthday clothes, and sometimes there'll be sorrow. Let's look at a couple of the picking ideas she's using here. On a standard G shape with open strings here, I guess she's got her 3 picking fingers on the top 3 strings, first finger on the 3rd string, second on the 2nd, 3rd finger up on the top string, and her thumb is coming across from the 5th to 4th strings. But she breaks it down so that she's got a group of 3 eighths, then another 3 eighths, and then 2 eighths. Daka da daka da daka, making 8. That kind of a thing. And she's in the habit of coming up to the top string on the 2 and. On a B minor 7, exactly the same thing. Or A minor 7. Now, I can't promise I'll do exactly the same thing when I'm playing through the song, because it's not what actually naturally fits under my fingers. But that's the sort of thing she's doing. We'll take a look at the intro in a second, which I have tabbed out, and I'll try and play that precisely. But the last 2 bars of that have this. This kind of thing. She's hammering on with the 1st and 2nd fingers on the 1st and 2nd frets. And at the end of the verse, for instance, she does that kind of thing. Maybe just with the 1st finger on the 2nd string. And then that 2nd finger coming out of the 2nd fret a little bit later. And you can create a melody here with the open 2nd, up to the 1st fret, down to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. That's the kind of key idea that she's got. You can hear that gently in the background. Okay, so let's look at the intro in detail. So here's the intro. Now, you know that thing on YouTube where you see some guy playing the guitar and it's perfect and you think, how am I going to do that? Well, let me just tell you, I find this really difficult, and this is the first take. If I get through, great, but I've been playing this for the last half hour and it just trips me up every time. The thing is, She's got this constant note on the fourth string in the second half of the first bar. Alright, of course I got it right this time, but it's that. I just find that almost impossible to do. I can't guarantee when we go for a playthrough I'm going to play exactly that, but that's what she does. I would probably play fewer notes on that fourth string, but you know, slowing it down and listening to it, that is exactly what she does. Okay, then she moves on to our B minor 7 for half a bar and then down. And you know, when the B minor 7's there, the note on the third fret of the second string is a D, as is the top string. So I guess she's doing that second string and then up to the top string, same for the A minor 7. And then the figure that we played before. So all together. And she plays pretty much the same thing behind her singing when the verse comes in. All right, let's have a playthrough. In fact, I'm going to play the intro. I'm going to play the first verse. I'm going to go straight into the chorus, which takes us into an outro. And the last time we have... lots of this. Maybe 3 or 4 times to end. Again, I'm not going to attempt to play note for note what she does, but I'll have a go at something and it'll finish when it's finished. All right, thanks for watching and see you on the next one.
Call her green and the winters cannot fade her. Call her green for the children who made her. Little green, be a gypsy dancer. Just a little green, like the color when the spring is born. There'll be crocuses to bring to school. Just a little green, like the nights when the northern lights perform. There'll be icicles